Welcome back to our channel where we share updates and untold stories about Catherine, Princess of Wales and her royal family. Today we bring you some news. King Charles left Camilla speechless, as he gave Catherine most valuable property. People close to the royal family have been saying that a big shift is coming for the British monarchy. This change would make Catherine, Princess of Wales, far more active and involved than she is now. After she officially announced her cancer diagnosis in early 2024 and spent months getting treatment, sources believe that King Charles III has discreetly signaled that he wants to change the duties of a senior royal consort. People close to the palace say that the decision is meant to show support for her once she got well and to make the monarchy's administration more contemporary. Briefings say that the idea would give the princess extraordinary financial and administrative powers, perhaps including considerable strategic management over regions linked to the Duchy of Cornwall. That talk happens during a tough year for the family when both the king and the princess were dealing with major health problems. Sources say that Charles's proposal is based not only on Catherine's public reputation and proven skills, but also on the feeling of responsibility and strength that grew between them when they were both getting treatment at the same time. Kensington Palace has not officially acknowledged these stories, and the palace's official comments have always been cautious to stress that privacy and procedure are the most important things. But the rumors have painted an image of a king or queen who wants to change the monarchy by putting someone at the center of its operations who is recognized for meticulous planning, empathic leadership, and stability. If Catherine were to go from mostly ceremonial and representational tasks to genuine administrative power, it would be a historic change that shows a desire for a smaller, more modern royal family. Here is a more in-depth look at Catherine's recent trip, what the proposed job may mean, the legal and constitutional issues it presents, and why it might be important for the future of the monarchy. A forthright announcement and some time off to heal. In early 2024, private health issues that affected the royal family became public. In March, Catherine spoke to the country in a very personal video message produced in the Windsor grounds by BBC Studios. She said she was getting treatment for cancer. The frankness of the speech stuck out to a senior royal who was used to making careful public pronouncements. The princess broke the normal way the royal talks about sickness by speaking plainly about her condition and the actions she was taking. The way she spoke in the message was calm and collected. She said that following a scheduled surgery on her stomach in January, examinations showed she had cancer, which shocked the family. She spoke about how hard it was to deal with the news while also making sure her 3 young children, Prince George, Princess Charlotte, and Prince Louis, were well emotionally. This was a huge shock, of course, and William and I have been doing everything we can to deal with it privately for the sake of our young family, she said. She also said that her top priority was to reassure her kids, "It has taken me time to recover from major surgery in order to start my treatment. But the most important thing is that it has taken us a long time to explain things to George, Charlotte, and Louis in a manner that makes sense to them and to convince them that I will be well." That brief, honest statement spread far beyond the royal gates. For millions, it offered a unique insight into the personal struggles of someone often seen via ceremonial and official positions. She spoke honestly about being vulnerable and getting well, which helped her connect with many others who had gone through the same things and made a public story that was both honest and determined. After the news, she cut down on her public obligations so she could concentrate on her chemotherapy and rehabilitation. The press observed and spoke about her absence from various high-profile events, such royal services and state celebrations. The palace, on the other hand, gave careful updates and stressed the need for solitude. The princess kept supporting causes near to her heart, even from the edges of public life. She focused on early childhood and mental health issues, showing that she was still dedicated to her philanthropic work, even while going through her own therapy. Like Prince William, he cut down on his public activities to help his wife and make sure their kids had a stable family life. His public comments made it clear that the family wanted to keep their home out of the public eye. King Charles III was also getting treatment for a cancer that was not made public. People who know them say that going through treatment together brought the King and the Princess of Wales closer together in a way that was rare. Facing similar medical problems and trying to balance their obligations with their own recuperation seems to have helped them understand one other better. People close to the palace claim that the closeness is one of the things that made the king think about how to change the monarchy to match the needs of the current. People waited for Catherine to come back for months. Kensington Palace gave information at a slow and steady pace, giving the princess and her family the time they needed. When Elizabeth and her family stood on the balcony of Buckingham Palace at the Trooping the Colour in June, it was more than just a ceremonial event. For many people, it seemed like a national relief and a visible milestone in a long recovery. The palace said that her attendance was a sign of improvement, even if therapy was still going on. That public reappearance also laid the stage for the later stories that said her position in the institution may shift a lot. Getting through the maelstrom of lies and rumors. Even though she kept a lot of her rehabilitation secret, there was a lot of conjecture and, at times, harmful false information. Without constant updates, social media quickly filled the void with speculation. This shows how hard it is for the monarchy to manage its story in an age of fast digital amplification. Unverified rumors, creative hypotheses, and sometimes plain lies spread quickly across platforms, making things much harder for a family that was already under a lot of stress. When royal etiquette was broken in little ways, it often made the news. One widely discussed but unsubstantiated example was her absence from a garden party at Buckingham Palace, which is an annual event that normally draws many senior royals. Within hours, many were saying that her health had taken a big turn for the worst. Long before credible fact-checking could be done, sensational terms like "Princess returns to hospital" and "Kate's cancer recurrence" were circulated in the news and on social media. There were often straightforward human reasons behind their absences. For example, in the garden party episode, it was said that the princess opted to go to a family event, Prince Louis's school performance, because she wanted to be present for a child's big day. An onlooker said it was a moment focused on family, not on formality. She wanted to be there for Louis in a manner that only a mother could. Those little personal decisions don't mesh well with the public's need for spectacular stories, so half-truths and guesses frequently filled the gap. Kensington Palace fought back against the rumors by making strong remarks meant to stop the hysteria and take back control of the story. The palace's usual answers stressed that rumors of the princess's health becoming worse were false, repeated that she was making good progress in her rehabilitation, and asked for seclusion for the family again. Those government actions were needed to fight false information, but they could only do so much, since the spread of information online was so fast. There were also reports that Prince William was clearly annoyed by unwanted comments. People say he spoke frankly and strongly about the rumors during a charity event. He is claimed to have stated, "These claims are not only false, but also harmful and careless. We are doing everything we can to keep our family safe, and we ask that the media and the public give us the time we need to do that." His words showed how hard it is to deal with ongoing conjecture on top of major personal and medical issues. Even if the palace tried to change the tale, some stories stayed the same for days or weeks. But a lot of people started to feel sorry for the princess and support her. People on social media sent her encouraging words and old pictures of her helping in the community. They also shared their own tales of sickness and recovery that were similar to the princess's. Those grassroots replies showed that empathy could spread just as quickly as false information, as long as the people decided to respond with compassion instead of guesswork. In the end, these events showed how hard it is to protect privacy in a world when the media is always on, and how steady Catherine was by putting family and healing. First, she showed calm persistence and appeared to acquire more and more public respect. King Charles's plan to give Catherine a new job in the government reports started to come out saying that King Charles had been thinking about giving Catherine a new, more important job once she went back to work in public-facing roles, but only in certain situations. People close to the king say he has been thinking about how to modernize the monarchy's institutions, and that he sees the princess as someone who is particularly qualified to take on a more operational leadership position inside the institution. The Duchy of Cornwall stands out the most in these stories. The duchy is a private estate that has been passed down through the family for generations. It comprises a lot of land property and investments. It has been a source of revenue for the Prince of Wales for hundreds of years and is sometimes said to be worth more than $1 billion. When Queen Elizabeth II died and Charles became king, Prince William immediately became the Duke of Cornwall, and the duchy's revenue went to him, putting Catherine in a position of real responsibility connected to the duchy, though not, as sources are quick to point out, as owner-in-law would be uncommon under the Constitution. It's crucial to stress that the briefings don't say that the king is suggesting any formal transfer of title, like crowning Catherine the Duke of Cornwall. The procedures for inheriting the title are well known and go to the monarch's oldest son. Instead, the proposal, according to reports, would give the princess a lot of strategic oversight. She would be in charge of shaping investment strategy, modernizing land and property management, and expanding the duchy's community, environmental, and agricultural programs. She would be in charge of running the duchy on a day-to-day basis and setting long-term goals, but she wouldn't possess the duchy's assets. In reality, the gift that some people talk about would be stewardship influence and executive power over operations, not a change in legal ownership. Insiders say that the reason for this method is to put someone with contemporary project management skills and a public commitment to social concerns in charge of a significant organization that makes money and manages property. The duchy is more than just a source of money. Its estates are in communities all throughout the southwest of England, and it has responsibilities to farmers and tenants. Its investment decisions also have an effect on the environment. In principle, a senior royal who is hands-on and uses evidence-based methods may link the duchy's long-term financial stability with current social and environmental aims. It is said that the projected remit goes beyond the duchy. It might mean supervising a major change in how the royal palace handles human resources. That would include changing how staff is hired, making sure employees are healthy and happy, and making it easier for a vast, complicated workforce to get professional development. Supporters claim that having a senior royal oversee this transition would show a strong commitment to internal reform, such as fostering diversity and inclusion, making sure that hiring methods are fair, and making management more professional throughout the palace's many departments. Those are jobs that experienced administrators and independent managers usually do, but putting a high-profile royal in charge would show that changing the culture of the organization is a top concern. People who talk about Charles's ideas say that they are the result of his long-standing goal to make the monarchy smaller and more contemporary. For decades, he has spoken about the necessity for environmental protection, sustainable finance, and a monarchy that changes with the times. The alleged confidences show that he sees something special in Catherine. She respects tradition, is interested in policy and communities, and has the right personality to handle complicated operational transformation. In one report, a top advisor said, "She has shown skills far beyond that of a simple consort. She is a strategist who knows a lot about government and is a leader who can mix old and new ideas." People say that Prince William agrees with the proposal. People who know the pair say that he likes not just her public-facing qualities, but also the discipline and analytical skills she uses on projects behind the scenes. One acquaintance added, "He knows how smart, emotionally smart, and strong she is. He knows she has what it takes to do well in that job." This is about her really becoming a leader, not just a figurehead. The transfer would signify something to Charles on both a personal and an institutional level. People say that the closeness they had via their similar health problems helped him understand Catherine's personality better. He is known for being careful with the monarchy, and he thinks of her as someone who can reconcile respect for tradition with the needs of contemporary government. By giving a trustworthy family member a lot of power, Charles would be showing that he is prepared to give up power in ways that focus on competency and continuity rather than just ceremonial roles. Re-evaluating the role of a royal consort. If Catherine were given a strategic executive role, it would make people think about what the consort's role is in the monarchy. Traditionally, consorts, whether the king's wife or the queen's husband, have been visible signs of support and stability. They have done things like patronage and public advocacy, but they have seldom been directly involved in administering the institution. In the past, consorts had power, although it was usually via indirect means. People remember Queen Elizabeth, the Queen Mother, for boosting the morale of the country during World War II and for being a moral support for her husband, King George VI. Prince Philip, the late Duke of Edinburgh, was a very active modernizer. In many ways, he supported causes, started the Duke of Edinburgh's award, and used his position to push for efficiency and new ideas. But his job was nevertheless different from being directly responsible for the monarchy's money. Queen Camilla has worked on issues including lobbying literacy and raising awareness of domestic violence. People have seen her participation as helping the Queen accomplish her job. Princess Diana utilized her fame across the world to work on humanitarian issues. This is a kind of public leadership that is based on advocacy rather than running the organization from inside. The scenario being talked about for Catherine would put her far closer to the palace's main operations center. Helping to plan the duchy's strategy would include making choices that would affect the duchy's finances for a long time, affecting how it interacts with the environment and the community, and determining investment priorities. If HR reforms were to happen, hundreds of employees would have to deal with changes in their everyday lives. There is a big distinction between ceremonial patronage and executive responsibility. This modifies the kind of accountability that is required and makes people wonder where the royal household's usual boundaries of power are defined. Historically prominent court officials, such as the Keeper of the Privy Purse, the Lord Chamberlain, and other appointed professionals who report to the sovereign or the heir apparent, have been in charge of the crown's finances and administration. If a consort were to directly manage the finances, it would muddy such distinctions and lead to discussions about role clarity and governance. People who support the alleged idea say that a merit-based system that takes into account skills, vision, and trust, along with lineage, makes sense in a contemporary business. Critics, on the other hand, say that giving too much power to someone who is not an elected official and who has a symbolic post might create concerns about accountability, transparency, and the relationship between private estates and public obligations. There are also bigger effects on society. The alleged change would be a clear sign of how gender roles are shifting in the monarchy. Historically, patriarchal norms have influenced the distribution of power and the delegation of authority. If the Princess of Wales took on a different executive position, it would show that a consort's duties may be strategic and management not only symbolic or charitable. That might set a strong example for future consorts and change how people think about the roles senior royals play in running institutions. Catherine's experience and talents make her a good fit for this job. As the head of the Royal Foundation Center for Early Childhood and the Shaping Us campaign, she proved that she can bring together specialists, run a long-term research program, and turn the results into public advocacy. The campaign requires ongoing project management discipline and combined collecting data with reaching out to practitioners and policymakers. Those are really important abilities for leading nonprofits and institutions, and bringing that kind of thinking inside the palace might improve planning assessment and getting stakeholders involved. Still, it won't be easy to break with long-standing rules. Some courtiers who like more conventional institutions may not want the internal balance to change. The public's reaction would be very important. Some people might be happy about a modernizing step, while others might be worried about nepotism, a concentration of power, or the loss of the symbolic separation between the monarchy and the administration. To deal with such conflicts successfully, We would need thorough legal analysis, clear rules for how the government works, and a public story that explains both the why and the how of the change. A new leader-style preparedness and priorities reports say that the Princess of Wales was secretly getting ready for further duties even while she was recovering. People who know her say she is disciplined, systematic, and thinks ahead. These are qualities she has displayed in public by how she runs charity and public projects. People say that her informal work throughout rehabilitation has been more strategic and practical than just ceremonial. This suggests that she wants to be ready for a real position instead of just a title. When she wasn't in the public glare, she is claimed to have been researching how the duchy works by talking to economists, estate managers, and financial advisors to learn about land management, tenant relations, and portfolio governance. She is said to have looked into current corporate governance techniques by talking to HR specialists about how to construct an organization and how to keep employees happy. According to reports, she looked into ways to make well-being a part of workplace practices based on her work as a mental health advocate. This is a job that requires both policy understanding and institutional leadership. People frequently say that her style of public leadership is a mix of empathy and efficiency. People say she is warm and kind while she appears in public, but behind the scenes, she is supposed to pay attention to details and evaluate evidence before making decisions. People who work with her have noticed that she mixes technical talk with concern for morale. For example, she may stop a long discussion on finances to ask how the staff is doing, and she will push for rules that recognize both people and performance. A royal source said, "She has an amazing ability to bring together the human element and strategy. She isn't just looking at numbers on a spreadsheet, she's thinking about the people and communities those numbers represent." Her own sickness has been said to have sharpened her point of view, making her more empathetic and underscoring the need of strong institutions. She has told her friends that dealing with her fragility has made her value robust support systems and effective policies more both at the palace and in the community outside it. A close acquaintance stated, "She has always been a strategist planning ahead." This event has made her feel like she has to act right now. She wants to make sure that the monarchy not only lasts, but also serves with compassion and relevance. It seems like working together is a big part of how she would do her job. Instead of giving orders from the top down, she is seen as someone who generates agreement by getting palace officials, subject matter experts, and outside stakeholders to offer both ambitious and practical ideas. Advisors say that her collaborative style has gained her respect since she listens intently, asks tough questions, and demands on proof before making a decision. "She doesn't just agree with decisions," remarked another assistant. "She gets into the details, asks the right questions, and makes sure that every action fits with the bigger picture." If she officially takes on the duties described in briefings, that mix of empathy and competence will be very important, whether she is running the duchy or changing how the palace runs on a daily basis. Family support as a base. Catherine's journey through sickness and recovery has not only altered her public conduct, but has also strengthened familial relationships that are crucial to her leadership abilities. During a difficult time, the Waleses and the rest of the royal family stood together, and that support has been important for the princess as she deals with health problems and the possibility of taking on more duties. Prince William has been steadfast in his support, both in public and in private. Friends say he admires how strong she is and how well she can handle being a mother, a spouse, and a public person all at the same time. He is said to have told close friends, "She is my rock." She never lost her strength even when things were at their worst. She kept planning, kept fighting for herself, for our children, and for the future. These words show that they trust her not just as a wife, but also as a possible leader in an institution. Their kids didn't know all that happened, but they still learned about perseverance and family unity. Friends have shared little everyday stories of the family's closeness, like a youngster painting a picture of their mother as a superhero or an older brother taking on a protective role. Those moments are personal, but they show how the princess balances her duties as a parent with her duties as a public figure. They could also give us an idea of how she would prioritize workplace culture and well-being in a future operational job. The king's connection with Catherine allegedly became stronger during joint treatments with the wider family. They have always had a good working relationship, but going through physical problems at the same time seems to have made them more understanding and respectful of each other. After she spoke out publicly, aides say Charles personally praised her bravery. According to multiple individuals, the decision to give her a bigger position came from both that deeper personal admiration and strategic thinking. Queen Camilla, who has faced criticism for decades, has also been a source of advice and support. People say that Camilla's personal experiences provide Catherine a new way to think about how to deal with public criticism while being strong in private. Their relationship, which was formerly quite formal, is now said to be one of mutual respect and practical assistance. This is important in an organization because trust between senior members may affect how change is made. Catherine is likely to see that family unity as a key strength when she thinks about taking on a bigger role. The institutional obligations being spoken about need both political backing from inside the palace and a solid personal life. The Wales's unified front and the king's evident confidence provide the framework that a big internal change would require. What this may signify for the monarchy in the future. If the concept that has been spoken about comes true, and Catherine is given a strategic leadership role, it may be a turning point for the monarchy. It would be a clear sign that the monarchy is becoming more dynamic, outward-looking, and managerial. It would be clear that the king wants a monarchy that respects tradition while also looking forward. This would mean putting empathy, professionalism, and planning based on evidence at the center of royal operations. Her impact might go beyond changes inside the monarchy to change how it interacts with the public. The Shaping Us campaign showed that she can do thorough research and communicate it clearly to the public. She took complicated facts on early life and made them understandable to both parents and legislators. That mix of seriousness and relatability could help her work on mental health, which she has already supported. For example, one scenario in briefings is that she might start a palace-wide mental health initiative, making well-being a top priority and showing other big organizations how to do it right. Catherine's attraction to younger people might potentially have an effect. Young people often doubt established institutions, but they react well to leaders who appear real and have a clear goal. Her openness about her sickness and her clear support for evidence-based, outward-looking causes may help bridge the gap between generations of skepticism. This shows that the monarchy can be both a protector of continuity and a way for people to become involved in social issues. There are, however, certain problems to think about. Giving a consort real operational power raises issues about how the royal family is run, how open it is, and the laws that protect royal property and public money. Any increase in Catherine's responsibilities would probably need to be carefully spelled out in legal terms. For example, there would need to be agreements that spell out the limits of her delegated control over assets like the duchy, and ways for outside parties to keep an eye on things. To keep the public's confidence, it would be important to set up clear reporting lines, performance assessment mechanisms, and outside oversight. The public's feelings will be very important. People love the monarchy. It has a long history, and they think it is helpful. Some will be happy with a move that modernizes management and puts a capable public figure in charge. Some people will be worried about too much power being concentrated in one person or about a symbolic position taking on too much executive power. How the palace defines and carries out any change through open governance, clear public communication, and clear benefits for communities will determine whether the shift is perceived as progressive reform or an inconvenient break from established rules. There could also be effects on diplomacy and the Constitution. Because the monarchy is a symbol of the Commonwealth and of state affairs, governments and international partners keep a careful eye on any changes to the functions of people inside the monarchy. To make sure any modifications follow constitutional principles and don't have unforeseen diplomatic effects, it would be important to have careful briefings and legal counsel. The practical execution would also have to be done in stages. People who work for the duchy advise a tiered approach, a pilot stewardship position over some initiatives together with a formal mandate to spearhead HR change, followed by outside evaluations and the release of performance indicators. That manner, any new obligations would be judged against established standards, which would let changes be made before duties are given out more widely. In the end, how this plot plays out, and if it really happens, will decide how history remembers this time. Catherine's own battle with sickness has been more than just a private one. It has turned her into a person who combines determination with empathy and a strategic intellect. If the reports are true, and she uses those traits in important institutional roles, her legacy could be one of change strengthening the monarchy's operational foundations, making compassion a part of workplace culture, and showing a way of leading that combines tradition with practical innovation. How the palace decides to go ahead will be important. If the monarchy wants to stay popular while modernizing the actions it takes to show that it is accountable, transparent, and helpful to the people, will be very important. A well-planned transfer of operational duties, strong governance protections, and a focus on serving the public rather than personal gain would be the best way to make sure that the organization stays relevant for future generations. The tale will probably unravel slowly over the next several weeks and months. For now, the stories that have been going around suggest that a king is trying to mold the future of the institution by giving authority to a close family member who, according to many reports, has demonstrated the ability to lead thoughtfully during a very difficult time in their life. If that mix of personal confidence and institutional ambition came true, it would be a big change in how the British monarchy runs itself and serves the people in the 21st century. This moment could either be a turning point or just a tentative proposal depending on legal details, internal dynamics, and how the public reacts. At its core, though, the conversation is about a simple human judgment that showing character and ability, especially when things are tough, can make institutions rethink who should have practical authority for the good of everyone. Thank you for watching the video. Please let us know your thoughts and goodbye for now.